Wei Xinran shifted uncomfortably, trying to see who it was. But she didn't even have the strength to lift her eyelids. The knife was stuck in her heart, and she could already feel her life slipping away. As her parents' only daughter, she was naturally pampered. But her background was like a thorn in her heart. Later, my father went to a meeting at an overseas branch office and died in a plane crash. Zheng Yunhan is one of the school's most handsome boys. Hearing Wei Yuqiong say this, he was overjoyed and agreed. In the end, it was her mother who gave all the company's shares to Wei Yuehua for her sake, and the matter was finally dropped. In her past life, she woke up to find a check and felt that Zheng Yunhan had insulted her. Wei Xinran clenched her fist and told herself that now was not the time. Wei Yuqiong walked aggressively up to the two of them, slapped Wei Yuqiong across the face, and then grabbed her hair and started tearing at it. You knew I liked Zheng Yunhan, yet you still seduced him behind my back. You're my sister, my own sister. Are you happy seducing your older sister's man behind my back? Can't you see Wei Xinran is going crazy? It's a good thing he turned into a zombie after the apocalypse. Otherwise, he would have harmed even more people. Wei Xinran yanked Wei Xinran away and roared, "Are you crazy? You came out of the same room behind my back, and you still dare to talk about me. Where would you get so much money? It must have been from that boss Wang." This was the first time Zheng Yunhan had ever seen a check, and it was for 5 million. Wei Xinran was just thinking about how to get it from that stupid woman, Wei Xinran, when Wei Yuqiong gave him a wink. Zheng Yunhan proudly reached out his hand, but just as he was about to receive the check, it suddenly vanished. How could you have a check for 5 million? I used to think she wasn't very talkative. But what's wrong with her today? How could he possibly have 5 million? Today let him know that if he's a scumbag, he should stop pretending. This was the first time he had received such attention, which made him blush with embarrassment. Not only are they deliberately pointing out each other's shortcomings, but it also sounds like they're mocking Zheng Yunhan. Sister, this 5 million was borrowed by Yunhan from a friend. After drinking it, I felt weak all over and had a fever. It was obvious that the man and woman were having an affair. Wei Yuqiong only heard the words heaven on earth and asked in surprise, "Why did you go to heaven on earth?" Wei Xinran asked blankly, "Where should we go?" Whenever he spoke to her like that, she would worry about getting angry and agree to everything he said. "So I took out all my savings and scraped together this 5 million to give to you." Wei Xinran took the check and ran into the elevator that had just opened. Seeing Zheng Yunhan's slightly distorted face, Wei Yuqiong felt even more contempt. Wei Yuqiong's eyes flickered, and she nodded, saying, "Okay." Wei Yuehua's mother, who was exhausted, suddenly fell ill. How can someone with such character be suitable to lead such a large company? If she had evidence, she wouldn't have let these people be so arrogant. As for the company's performance, it is indeed my responsibility. I will do my best to manage the company, and I will definitely give everyone a satisfactory result in the second half of the year. Xie Wanqing frowned and said, "I don't agree with this project. Even the country is very optimistic about this new project." Xie Wanqing's body stiffened. It had been many years since her daughter had been this close to her. Wei Xinran was pretending to cry, but when she opened the door and saw her mother sitting vividly not far away, tears streamed down her face. From childhood to adulthood, this child had never cried so bitterly. When Wei Yuehua met Xie Wanqing's gaze, she couldn't help but shrink back, but she was very puzzled. Xie Wanqing had to spend a lot of money to find a pretty girl for that old lecher to appease him. If she could really cry her mother to death, that would be fine. Wei Xinran raised her head, her teary eyes glaring at him, and said, "Second uncle, you dare to ask me? Furthermore, why did Wei Xinwan say I should be with that old man surnamed Wang?" After all, everyone present was shrewd and knew that the man surnamed Wang was a lecherous old man. "They're all your friends. What do I have to worry about? Mommy will definitely give you justice in this matter. If it weren't for the apocalypse, the Wei family would definitely have collapsed." Xie Wanqing turned around and said coldly and seriously, "Let's end today's shareholders meeting here. Then who becomes the chairman will not be up to me." How foolish she was in her past life, pushing away such a good mother. "Mom, you were so cool just now. Mom will take you to eat something delicious." But when she saw the kiss mark on her daughter's neck, her eyes narrowed slightly. Wei Xinran ate a lot today. Her stomach was so full, but she still hadn't stopped. "If you like, Mom will take you out to eat again tomorrow. No regrets." Xie Wanqing's eyes were a little moist as she wiped the corner of her mouth and said with a smile, "Perhaps what happened last night broke Wei Yuehua's heart, and she realized who truly cared for her and was so close to her. Tonight, Mommy will cook you something delicious, okay?" Xie Wanqing said with a smile. "All right, Changchong. Don't cry." Lu Shumei patted her back, glancing at Xie Wanqing as if she wanted to say something, but hesitated. If it weren't for Ranran, she would have moved out long ago. From now on, my sisterly bond with her is over. What she cared about was Xie Wanqing's compensation. Besides, Qiongxiong is so kind, how could she drug you? Seeing Wei Xinran pursing her lips and remaining silent, Lu Shumei smiled and looked at Zheng Yunhan, saying, "As for your boyfriend, he certainly wouldn't. I specially bought 21 bouquets of roses." Wei Xinran accepted the roses and looked up at Zheng Yunhan with a smile. "I can tolerate you stringing me along anyway. I'm rich. I'll just treat it like raising a gigolo." If a lone man and woman go into a hotel room and claim nothing happened, nobody would believe it. Lu Shumei felt that Wei Xinran was slightly different, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Wei Xinran stood up with a smile, walked over to her, put his hand on her shoulder, and said with a smile, "Ranran, don't be upset. Let's go," Xie Wanqing said, not allowing Wei Xinran to refuse, and pulled her upstairs. "I should find some time to discuss it with Ranran and suggest that they move out and stay away from them." "Give it to me. I want to wear it," Wei Xinran said, taking Xie Wanqing's arm as they reached the second floor. "This is your thoughtful gift, and I want to put your mind at ease," Wei Xinran said with a smile. When she turned around, Lu Shumei saw it and asked Wei Yuqiong for it. It was then that she realized that the family members she had protected and loved for so many years were all fake. "You can wear this normally, and when there are big banquets, Mom will buy you some beautiful jewelry." Xie Wanqing nodded and said perfunctorily, "All right, I understand." Xie Wanqing, who was initially delighted by her daughter's concern, was instantly plunged into despair. Wei Yuqiong had told herself that she had accidentally dripped blood onto the jade pendant, which was how she opened the space. Wei Xinran quickly let it fall onto the phoenix jade pendant, where it was quickly absorbed. Just as she was about to pick up the jade pendant, it suddenly flew up and landed on her neck. "Are you referring to this desolate mountain in front of us? You actually knew what I was thinking. That's amazing. What if you don't accept the mission?" Wei Xinran asked curiously. Wei Xinran stared blankly at the mountain in front of her. "This nirvana is honest and trustworthy, treating everyone fairly, young and old alike. The host doubts the system's authenticity. Therefore, a lightning strike is hereby imposed as punishment." "Damn it, what kind of system is this?" Wei Xinran is a flexible and principled person who doesn't stoop to the level of someone from another system. Hearing the disdainful words, Wei Xinran gritted her teeth and said, "You said I have a low IQ." Thinking about her appearance and figure, Wei Xinran was quite satisfied with this score. The full score is 10 and 6 is the passing grade. "I'm a curvy woman, the school beauty since I was a kid, and you give me such a low score. So this system must be a fake system. Wei Xinran wants to smash the system. What should we do?" Wei Xinran blinked when she saw the cave. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment, with a 20-square-meter bedroom, a 100-square-meter storage room, and a 20-square-meter living room. The room was very simple, with a small bed and a stone door inside. The host's level is too low, and there's no water on the mountain. It is recommended that the host fertilize the forest regularly, which will benefit plant growth. With this cave, she could store supplies and wouldn't have to worry about food after the apocalypse. This mountain was truly a treasure trove. In the post-apocalyptic world, the weather became increasingly harsh and illness became commonplace. Wei Xinran bought and planted all the seeds of Chinese medicinal herbs. It's early March, and Arbor Day is just a few days away, so there are quite a few new saplings available. While she was at it, she inquired about where to buy crop and vegetable seeds, and bought quite a lot of vegetable and crop seeds. Wei Xinran looked up how to farm and found it so complicated. It involved loosening the soil, sowing seeds, and fertilizing. "How can we plant all these things quickly and economically?" Wei Xinran mechanically replied, "Master, you can't." While driving, he made a phone call. "Guji Hong, where are you?" Guji Hong was handsome, but also a simple and honest person, basically a bookworm. Just then, she was attracted to Zheng Yunhan and dumped Guji Hong. Unfortunately, she was severely reprimanded by Wei Yuqiong and her daughter for their poisoned tea, and he left dejectedly. "Send me your location." Wei Xinran raised her voice slightly, then hung up the phone. From a distance, you could see several people wearing rubber boots working in the paddy field. Guji Hong chuckled and began wiping his face with a tissue. Wei Xinran recognized this woman. In her previous life, it was she who instigated everyone to take Guji Hong away. The professor invented a type of rice seed that can be grown directly without water, and we're experimenting with it. "Sowing seeds directly without water?" Wei Xinran asked curiously. "You have to raise seedlings first, and then transplant them into the paddy field, which is very troublesome." "Why are you asking this?" the senior student asked rudely. "The professor will scold you if he finds out. They've been researching this experiment for several years, and all the companies they initially favored have withdrawn their investments. Could you get them for me too?" Wei Xinran, too lazy to bear the senior's eye roll, said, "Get in the car, let's talk privately. I have some things to do this month, so we'll sign the contract next month." Guji Hong said, "Okay. I'll call the professor right now. Guji Hong will also help you find a suitable storage facility for the soil and organic fertilizer as soon as possible. Let's go have dinner." After saying that, he called his mother to let her know. Back home, Lu Shumei and her family of 3 were playing games in the living room. Moreover, while he claimed to be helping her organize her clothes, he was really just after her and wanted to possess her. Look, not only did she reject me, but she also bought a gift for my sister-in-law. Sure enough, she saw a lot of documents next to her mother, who was looking at computer files with glasses on. "You wait here for mommy," Xie Wanqing said with a smile, as it was rare for her daughter to buy her clothes. This house is in the eastern suburbs, so in the previous life, they went to the base in the eastern district. "Do you like the clothes I bought for you?" Wei Xinran asked, taking out the clothes she had bought. "Mom, you should sell all your company shares." Seeing her mother's expression, Wei Xinran knew that she had misunderstood. "Mom, it's not magic," Wei Xinran said, and then put the coffee table next to her into her spatial storage. "Mom, it's not that it's gone, I just put it in my space." As she spoke, she took out all the items. Hearing Nirvana's answer, Wei Xinran was finally relieved and asked with her divine sense, "Where is the jade pendant?" After saying that, he touched his neck again and found the jade pendant. This jade pendant is worth at least tens of millions, and she doesn't have that much money. "On the way to the base, you were eaten by zombies while protecting me." Xie Wanqing was disappointed and sad, but she couldn't bear to hurt her. Seeing her daughter disappear before her eyes, Xie Wanqing was shocked and stood up abruptly, calling out, "Ranran! Ranran! Where did you go?" The apocalypse really will come in a month. If there really is an apocalypse, there should be some warnings of natural disasters and man-made calamities. When they awoke, the world was in chaos. Wei Xinran knew that no one would believe her, so she said, "Okay, Mom. Now, in addition to supplies, improving physical fitness and flexibility is equally important." Lu Shumei was preparing breakfast when she saw the two of them come back together. Lu Shumei's face instantly turned ugly, but she forced a smile and said, "As long as you're happy." Wei Xinran returned to her room and searched for warehouses for sale. Xie Wanqing smiled and shook her head, saying, "Mom is getting ready for work." Xie Wanqing was even happier to hear that they were moving out. "Okay, then thank you, Ranran, for your trouble." Xie Wanqing blinked and laughed. "You clever little devil." Wei Xinran walked to the sofa, sat down, crossed her legs, and looked at Lu Shumei with a wicked smile. "Why are you looking at Mom like that?" "Oh, I see." Lu Shumei concealed her excitement and said regretfully, "Ranran, isn't it good for our family to live together?" "What's wrong?" Wei Xinran asked, raising her eyebrows. "My mom said she's exhausted from working at the company right now. If there's a new boss, Uncle won't be as carefree as he is now. Don't you have a check for 5 million? This idiot actually gave it to Xie Wanqing. "Let's ask your mother for it later." Once the company is in their hands, she will persuade Wei Xinran to get the money back. In the end, it will still be hers. "Ranran, you know Mom doesn't have that much money on her." Lu Shumei felt a pang of heartache. In order not to die of anger, she hurriedly said, "Ranran, I'm leaving first." Wei Xinran had just stood up, playing with her bank card, when she heard a noise upstairs. Wei Yuxiong had just woken up and was still a little groggy. Wei Xinran proudly shook the bank card in her hand and said, "Yes, someone like you is of no use to Daddy." When the other party heard that she was there to buy a villa, they gave her a warm welcome. "I don't want too much greenery. I'm afraid there will be too many mosquitoes in the summer." If the manager hadn't known she was the daughter of the Wei family, he would have definitely given her to the salesperson. Wei Xin saw manager Wang shine the key into the large iron gate, and the gate opened quickly. Most villa communities have security guards and electric retractable gates that are over a meter high. This door has an automatic electric shock and alarm device. Wei Xinran nodded, not in a hurry to look at the houses. Built on the entire hillside, it's as big as a castle. The Shi family must have known the apocalypse was coming, which is why they built this villa here. Fortunately, there was still one unit in Building 4 that hadn't been sold. If you're satisfied, we can go back to the company now to sign the contract, and you can move in tomorrow. With 30 million, I could build 4 villas like this. Do you know why I bought a villa? This woman was really infatuated. She actually bought a villa just to see the young master. This villa area has 70 or 80 households, and it showed that 9 units had been sold. The roof and the surrounding windows were all made of blue light-generating glass. At noon, Wei Xinran and Xie Wanqing went out for lunch together. Just then, a man and a woman entered the restaurant. The man felt the voice was familiar, so he looked over and stopped in his tracks when he saw the girl's face. The girl was wearing sportswear, and her chestnut curly hair was combed high, making her fair neck look even longer and more graceful. God is always fair. He gave her such a beautiful face, but her brain is full of wet cotton. Wei Xinran smiled and said, "Mom, look how handsome that person's back is." Xie Wanqing only knew she was joking, and asked with a smile, "You really don't want Zheng Yunhan anymore?" Wei Xinran always felt like she had forgotten something, and now that her mother brought it up, she realized that she had forgotten about Wei Haozhe. Wei Hao's made a scene saying that the Wei family either had him or her. In his previous life, 2 years after the apocalypse, he returned and found her. Moreover, while others used their crystal cores for cultivation, she had exchanged them for resources, so her superpower level was very low. Wei Xinran closed her eyes, hiding the tears welling up, and said, "Mom, don't let him come back yet. Only by shooting the zombie in the head or heart will it die." In her previous life, Wei Yuqiong led a team armed with machine guns, slaying wave after wave of zombies and becoming the goddess of the base. Xie Wanqing instantly understood her daughter's meaning, but frowned and whispered, "But the country prohibits the import of private weapons." Seeing her daughter nod, she felt a mix of emotions. Shi Kailin picked up the water glass with a blank expression and took a small sip. "Brother, what happened to Xiaoxi?" Shi Kaishan asked weakly. "Sister, why did you suddenly decide to call me?" Shi Kaijing asked suspiciously. Mentioning this made Shi Kaishan angry, her voice rising several decibels as she vented all the pent-up anger she'd accumulated that morning. "I asked Big Brother, and he told me to ask you." Shi Kaishan was so surprised she couldn't speak. Shi Kaishan can't sleep or eat well every day, and he's always sighing. "Also, doesn't the Shi family have a second brother, you? I had no choice but to ask you for help. Otherwise, why would he be so cruel to us?" After saying that, he glanced at his older brother, who was engrossed in playing with his phone but had a very gloomy expression. Grabbing her bag and clothes, she stood up hastily and said, "Brother, I just remembered. Mom wants me to go back for dinner." As a result, the food factory owner asked Wei Xinran a lot of questions, like he was conducting a census, which annoyed her a lot. There were still many things to collect, and she couldn't possibly search for them one by one. Wei Xinran couldn't go to the supermarket, but she could buy a supermarket. It was early spring, so many big brands were having sales on winter clothes and boots. Seeing the phone number reminded her that in her previous life, this guy had also come back and called her. During this time, she took the opportunity to have a full-body spa treatment. So many beautiful women surrounded him, hoping to become his dance partner. But his dancing was so good that no one could keep up. Besides Wei Xinran, who else is aging looking at so intently? Ji Huiying took a sip of wine, a smile on her lips, and said confidently. At that moment, everyone on the stage stopped, except for a woman in red and a man in black who were dancing energetically. After the song, Wei Xinran's legs were a little weak. "Some people just abandon their brothers once they have a man," Xiao Jing said with dissatisfaction as he carried her off the stage. Wei Xinran was placed on the sofa to the side. In the past 3 years, she has sacrificed too much for Zheng Yunhan, that scumbag. "Ranran, those men who make you change are not worth your love." Wei Xinran nodded, smiled, and said, "Don't worry." Smiling, he asked, "Why are you out here?" Xiao Jing didn't even tell her when he left City A. Xiao Jing guessed her intention and was very happy that she not only didn't bring that guy over, but also agreed to go racing with him. It would be even better if Xiao Jing could accompany her to practice riding motorcycles. Ji Kailin had always had a photographic memory and an uncanny ability to remember what he heard. Moreover, he was surprisingly sensitive to her voice. Hearing someone come in, Wei Xinran turned around and saw the person. The custom-made suit perfectly showcased his physique, exuding an aloof and ascetic air. When Xiao Jing saw Shi Kailin, he was first taken aback, and then he saw that the other party's face turned ugly because of Ranran's words. Shi Kailin moved his gaze from her radiant smile to her fair and delicate hands. Shi Kailin, like himself, had obviously been given the drug. Shi Kailin, who was always restrained, only lost control that night. Just as she was about to withdraw her hand, the other person not only shook hands with her, but also introduced himself. Wei Xinran happily let go, and then said understandingly and generously, "Young Master Shi wants to get some fresh air here, right?" After saying that, she tugged at Xiao Jing and whispered, "Jing, let's go." Then she smiled obsequiously at Shi Kailin. Xiao Jing said, half lauding and half crying, "Ranran, I'm a big shot too." Thinking of this, Xiao Jing nodded and said, "Ranran, don't worry." Xiao Jing frowned, clearly disapproving of the agreement. "A Jing is my family, my golden thigh I want to hold on tight." For some reason, he felt that this was the only time he could hold her and embrace her without any reservations. It was Wei Yuqiong who told everyone that it was the smell of blood on her that attracted the zombies, so the group abandoned her. Xiao Jing also heard that Xiao Jing had returned with people looking for her. "When?" Xiao Jing asked, his eyes shining. The place where they were talking was not far from the stairs, and even though they were speaking softly, Shi Kailin could hear them clearly. No wonder the two of them are so close. Xiao Jing would absolutely not allow her to latch onto him, and then try to latch onto other people. When he saw who the girl was, every cell in his body was boiling. Wei Xinran never knew her waist was so thin that he felt he could break it with his big hand. Wei Xinran must have been blind to let such a beauty go to waste. "I've been waiting for you for so long," Zheng Yunhan said with a hint of complaint, though his eyes were filled with fervor. Xiao Jing let him go blind if he wanted to. Jung Yunhan didn't receive a reply from Wei Xinran, but instead saw her exchanging flirtatious glances with another man right in front of him. "What if I don't let go?" he said, kissing Wei Xinran on the forehead in a clear provocation. Look, she not only came, but she also brought Jung Yunhan with her. Even though Ranran was unhappy with how he treated her sister, he didn't want to see Wei Yuxiong's disgusting face. Wei Xinran coldly said to the two people in the way, "You two, get out of the way." After saying that, she said to Wei Xinran in a gentle and warm voice, "Ranran, my darling, are your legs tired?" Wei Xinran bent down and picked up Wei Xinran, then coldly said to the two people blocking his way, "Get out of the way. Why is she like this?" Jung Yunhan asked in surprise, his eyes blazing with anger. Wei Yuxiong wanted to start a company but had no connections. Perhaps, in a few years, all of them will be trying to curry favor with him. Jung Yuhan clenched his fist, a smile playing on his lips, and walked up to Wei Xinran. Under everyone's gaze, Jung Yunhan felt his face burning, making him want to run away. Wei Xinran held the microphone and sang it with great focus towards Wei Xinran, his eyes almost overflowing with affection. "I'll have someone bring him down right now and punish him properly. Okay?" Wei Xinran smiled and said, "That's good." Xiao Jing whispered for a moment, and A Cheng said with sparkling eyes, "A Jing, Ran, just watch me." Since Wei Xinran has already forgiven him, he can just coax her to be happy again tomorrow. Wei Yuqing frowned in discomfort, but when she saw the stranger next to her, she suddenly sobered up. Wei Yuqiong quickly covered her mouth, carefully got out of bed, put on her clothes, and quietly left. Humming a little tune, she went downstairs and found Wei Yuehua sitting on the sofa, reading the newspaper. "Oh right, second uncle. I've spent all the money second aunt gave me yesterday." Upon hearing this, Wei Yuehua's face was full of displeasure, and Liu Shimei was also in a bad mood. Wei Xinran glanced at the message on her phone, pouted, and said, "Second uncle is so stingy. He's not even as generous as second aunt." In this way, he would still be using Xie Wanqing's money, and the company would be back in his own hands. Wei Xinran nodded, stood up and left. "Thank goodness. What are you holding in your arms?" "We're going to buy some things. We haven't bought farm tools like shovels yet. Gu Jihong should know where to buy them. As an investor, can't you go and put it into practice yourself? I bought a house there, and it's being renovated now." Ran Gu Jihong was dissatisfied with Wei Xinran's domineering attitude, and was about to resist when Wei Xinran shot him a cold glare. This bookworm, how could he know how to shoot? Xiao Jing naturally took over from the coach, and began teaching Wei Xinran how to shoot. Seeing this, Xiao Jing picked her up and asked, "Ran, why?" Wei Xinran knew that Ah Jing was leaving the day after tomorrow, so she planned to plant the plants after Ah Jing left. When they arrived, there were already quite a few convoys. Besides, she came for A Jing, so there was no need to make A Jing unhappy for their sake. Seeing the excited light in A Jing's eyes, I knew he really liked it. Besides, he had arranged for A Cheng to follow Ran, so nothing would happen. They were clearly not far in front of her, so how could they suddenly disappear? She's not familiar with the terrain here, so she can only follow people. If she's smart, she'll see there's no one on the road, and come back the way she came. Someone must have misheard and was deliberately fooling them. Chi Kailin smiled slightly, glanced at him, and then instructed Rao Zhuo and the others beside him to open the safe. As soon as he finished speaking, all the safes were closed. "Do you think my life is only worth 10 billion? The next second there was a loud bang. They could only shoot at the trees in the darkness. Seeing the faint lights ahead, she decided to turn back. Wei Xinran felt that Nirvana was just asking politely. In reality, she was forced to accept any task assigned by the main system. The reward is 50,000 copper coins, and the commodity trading system will be opened ahead of schedule. Shi Kailin made a deal with the other party, who not only wanted to steal his money, but also wanted to kill him. "I see." Wei Xinran had barely finished speaking when she heard an explosion. Shi Kailin just jumped down from the second floor of the old factory and is running into the woods. Wei Zhen stopped again, muttering to herself, "Should we go this way or turn back?" Wei Xinran hurriedly accelerated and flew away. Shi Kailin is so stingy, only asking for 100,000. "Your men killed my men and hijacked the goods," Ji Tenkun said angrily. "Don't worry, our men have already gone after him." Suddenly, Shi Kailin said, "You keep the direction under control." The motorcycle wobbled as if it was about to fall over. Even though she was wearing a helmet, she wasn't dressed very warmly, and Wei Xinran felt her hands and body were freezing. "I don't know how long I drove, but I felt that there were fewer and fewer bullets behind me, and then they gradually disappeared." Shi Kailin was clearly surprised to hear Wei Xinran's voice. "I was racing here with Ah Jing and we accidentally took the wrong turn and bumped into Shi Xiao." Shi Kailin thought that they were going to have some time alone together, but he did not expect that it would be a race. Kongjing Avenue is in the West District, while this is in the East District. Wei Xinran remembered that her waist was not only slender but also very flexible, but now her whole body was stiff with cold. Wei Xinran's already his woman, So the next step, of course, is to make her his wife. Calming himself down, he said, "Young Master Shi, you're joking. It would be nice to snuggle in his arms." If it weren't for accompanying a Jing, she would have gone home to sleep after the spa treatment, since she was too tired today. Shi Kalin gently picked her up and carried her into the room. Shi Kalin put Wei Xinran in his room and went to his study. Rao Zhuo said he won't come over after he arranges the goods. On his large bed, the woman's smooth, lustrous hair was scattered on the white pillow. Seeing her brows furrowed, he quickly took the phone out of her clothes. "Why are you holding Ranran's phone?" Xiao Jing asked unhappily. If he wasn't mistaken, they must have been looking for Shi Kalin. Shi Kalin could have found the address of anyone else, but with Shi Kalin, even if he found it, he couldn't get in. Wei Xinran was half asleep when she felt someone taking off her clothes. If it had been Ah Jing, I don't know if I would have killed him. After washing up, Shi Kalin got into bed and held her in his arms. Shi Kalin had said that ever since that day, he had always felt a sense of loss, and now he realized it was true. Wei Xinran opened her eyes abruptly and frowned upon seeing the simple yet luxurious black and white decor of the room. Wei Xinran got out of bed and saw a man's bathrobe on her body. Wei Xinran breathed a sigh of relief, but then realized she had been overthinking things. Shi Kalin has seen more beautiful women than he has eaten salt. After getting dressed and washing up, Wei Xinran went out. Shi Kalin walked over, took her hand, and said, "You're welcome to come anytime you like. I think I should go back now." Shi Kalin walked to the dining table and gentlemanly pulled out a chair for her to sit down. Compared to the aloof and distant man she met the night before last, he was incredibly easygoing with her now. After all, she had saved him last night, and it was only right to be easygoing with someone who had saved her life. Thinking of Jing's departure earlier that day, she said, "Thank you for your hospitality, young Master Shi. What are your orders, young Master Shi?" As soon as she finished speaking, she felt a tightening around her waist. Shi Kalin loosened his grip slightly, noticing the mockery in her eyes, and said, "Wei Xinran, I'm serious." Shi Kalin wanted to drive all men of that type away from her. One was fair-skinned and handsome, the other refined and dashing. Then he pinched Rao Zhuo hard, who took 2 steps back from Ye Hanshu in pain and asked, "Young Master Yi, why did you pinch me? I don't have to face my mom's suspicious eyes anymore." Rao Zhuo hadn't done anything wrong, so why was his cousin looking at him with such disdain? "Yes, I like handsome guys like him who are gentle and kind. They make me feel very safe." All he had was a silver tongue and a deceitful face. "Really, I have absolutely no sense of security. No, my desert is the largest in the world. You can't catch me." Yahanshu was surprised that his brother dared to do something so outrageous. Just when he decided to take responsibility for her and marry her, she pretended to be confused. Shi Kalin wanted her to know that she belonged to him, and no one else could. They say Shi Kalin hates women and is only interested in men, and might not even know how to kiss. Shi Kalin didn't know if she was angry at Shi Kalin's kiss, or angry that he had moved her despite Shi Kalin not being her type. As for getting married, well, she has no interest in that. "Young Master Shi, I'm so touched by what you said," Wei Xinran said exaggeratedly. "After the apocalypse, this will be the big boss of the base. Wei Xinran won't even know who he is anymore." Seeing that he was still not giving up, she nodded indifferently. Wei Xinran quickly registered her fingerprint, then smiled charmingly and asked, "Young Master Shi, may I leave now? I wonder if Ah Jing has left yet." So cousin is a romantic at heart. Shi Kalin gave him a cold look and walked towards her car. Rao Zhuo glared at Yahanshu and said with a smile, "Young Master Yi, you're overthinking it. We can move in 3 more days." "What's going on?" Shi Kalin asked, then suddenly sat up straight from his seat and asked, "Miss Wei? I don't know how the deal was negotiated, but the funds haven't arrived yet, while that house is still under renovation." On the other side, Wei Xinran rode her motorcycle directly to Xiao Jing's house. Wei Xinran nodded and said apologetically, "Hey Jing, I'm sorry. When I woke up, it was already daytime. If Shi Kalin were as simple as he seemed, he wouldn't be being hunted down." Xiao Jing stood up, took 2 boxes from a cabinet beside him and said, "These are what you wanted." Wei Xinran excitedly took out the machine gun. "Not many, so you should use them sparingly." Xiao Jing was going to Kyoto, a place where one could carry a gun around. "By the way, don't you have people in the army?" At worst, he would just let her eat less of them. "Ah Jing, you must take good care of yourself. You can go now." Shi Kalin suddenly interrupted him, speaking calmly. Otherwise, he would have lost his life. "Also, have everyone in the engineering department, or gather some more people, to start renovating those villas and floors." Shi Kaijing quickly nodded and was about to leave when he said, "Let Shi Kaijing and Ye Hanshu take charge. I hope that 4th young master and young master Yi will like them." Wei Xinran clenched her fist and said firmly, "Appearance." Wei Xinran was too lazy to check. She was still holding the mirror in her hand. "Then I want to ask you, where exactly did you add it?" Wei Xinran asked, enunciating each word clearly. "Your eyes are severely nearsighted. and your appearance is mainly reflected in your facial features. So naturally, you will lose points. Wei Xinran clicked on it and found that there were several modules on the page, namely Balance Plane, Ancient Plane, Interstellar Plane, and Immortal Cultivation Plane. These planes are just a general allocation. Wei Xinran couldn't help but want to see what good things the cultivation world had, such as cultivation techniques. Even if there were cultivation books for sale, there was no spiritual energy here. So how could she cultivate? Wei Xin felt like killing someone at that moment. You can check the commodity trading system. 5 silver coins can buy quite a lot. We can buy quite a lot of rice, flour, oil, and other grains. Wei Xinran changed her clothes and planned to go check on the supermarket she had acquired. When Wei Xinran arrived at the coffee shop, she listened to Manager Wang for a long time before finally understanding his meaning. Don't worry. When you buy a house next month, I guarantee I'll give you the lowest price the company has to offer. Wei Xinran immediately had someone change the locks on the supermarket's main door and had all the security cameras destroyed. A few credit card salespeople did come over to process the applications and buy a bottle of water while they were at it. Moreover, their cards themselves have overdraft limits. Wei Xinran had no idea she was so rich. Xi instructed that one be sent to you. This Shi Kalin, at least he has some conscience. Seeing her car stop, he respectfully greeted her. Miss Wei, here are your villa keys. Wei Xinran had already guessed it, but when it was confirmed, she was still very happy. Moreover, when she entered the room, she found that there were some changes. It seems that Shi Kalin inquired about her recent clothing purchases, so he bought them according to her recent preferences. Wei Xinran then realized that every part of this place was protected by defenses. Seeing Wei Xinran's surprised expression, Raojua said, Miss Wei, please don't misunderstand or overthink it. Miss Wei has signed the contract, so this villa is yours. I think Shi Kalin, this big boss, is such a lovable person. Forget it. I'll just have someone professional dismantle it. After I've practiced shooting, Wei Xinran was only slightly better than Gu Jihong, hovering within the 6th or 7th ring road. The boss made a fortune and treated Wei Xinran exceptionally well, asking, Beautiful lady, I have a friend who can import foreign tree seedlings. Afterwards, the two went out for dinner, shopping, and a movie together. Lu Shumei and Wei Yuqiong sat happily on the sofa, while Xie Wanqing sat on the other side with a gloomy expression. Wei Xinran, which one is your room? Now she has no money at all. It's all gone into the hands of those guys. Second aunt, are you sure it's for safekeeping? The suitcase opened instantly, and the contents scattered. Second aunt, even though you're from a big city, you don't have to be so petty. You're really getting more and more sophisticated, and you're making your second uncle proud, Wei Xinran said with a sarcastic smile. Xiangxiang said that as long as you pay the rent, you can still live here. 200,000 per person, right? Wei Xinran asked with a smile. Mom, when did second uncle and second aunt move in? Wei Xinran asked. Lu Shumei stared at Wei Xinran in disbelief, completely dumbfounded. Wei Xinran, are you out of your mind? Wei Xinran is practically belittling herself, saying she's worse than a dog. All right, stop nagging and just give me the money, Wei Xinran said impatiently. Wei Xinran gave a cold laugh, took out her phone, and played the recording. Immediately, as if remembering something, he walked up to her and questioned, Was it you? Wei Yuqiong was furious to see the gloating look in her eyes, which she couldn't express. It would completely ruin Wei Yehua's reputation. And who knows, Wei Yehua might even divorce her to salvage his image. Regretfully and pleadingly, she said, Ranran, those jewels all belong to Mommy. My biological mother would treat me like this. If I didn't know her background, I would have been completely fooled by her fake crying. How could someone do something so shameless? As he spoke, he prepared to take action. The housekeeper and nanny rushed over, and Wei Xinran forcefully flung Lu Shumei onto the sofa. When Wei Yuqiong saw the picture, her eyes were filled with vicious resentment. Seeing her mother shake her head, Wei Xinran said, Second aunt, you and your cousin still have 18 minutes. Let's go to our villa, Wei Xinran said with a smile as she put the luggage in the car. Wei Xinran said, Ranran, you have good taste. As long as he gives me 200 million, I will transfer the shares to him. Xie Wanqing said with a smile, Ranran, didn't you say the apocalypse is coming soon? We can use this money to stockpile supplies and easily enjoy the rest of our peaceful life. If he doesn't have enough money, just tell me, and I'll transfer it to him. After so many days, her seeds have basically all arrived, and it's time to get to work. Thinking of this, Wei Xinran hurriedly asked Nirvana, Can other people enter the space? Wei Xinran said angrily, Then tell me, in such a big place, let's not even talk about the wheat and corn. Wei Xinran's eyes lit up, and she asked excitedly, How do I use it? After arranging all the saplings, Wei Xinran felt a splitting headache and her whole body went limp. I was so happy to see that they had actually moved there today. Ji Kalin hurriedly changed her clothes and walked out. Ji Kalin's smooth, silky skin made him want to tease her. Ji Kalin held her in his arms and patted her gently twice. Kaylin actually became a womanizer who steals women's fragrance and jade. Seeing her daughter come out, she smiled and said, Ranran, come and eat. The supermarket where Wei Xinran bought her goods wasn't far from Guitianju. Wei Xinran unloaded the goods and left happily. They say it's over 100 square meters. But if you keep things tidy, you can fit a lot of things in there. Anyway, she didn't lack money and could buy whatever she wanted. In addition to practicing shooting, the mother and daughter went to different villages and towns and took over many supermarkets and pharmacies. Just when she thought she could safely enter and exit the space within the room, Nirvana suddenly said, Host, there's another camera in the room. They still didn't believe her when she said the camera was inside the light fixture. Rao Zhu was in a meeting when suddenly his specially set phone rang. When Rao Zhuo saw that Shishao had actually paused the meeting to let him answer the phone, Wei Xinran's status instantly rose another notch. Kaylin nodded, and Rao Zhuo quickly said, Okay, sure, that's fine. The two who had never worked so hard before were in great distress. After that, everyone stared at them like prisoners, and they were not given a second more time except for eating, sleeping, and going to the toilet. Yahanshu was painting the wall when he glanced outside and said to Shi Kaijing beside him, Xiaoxi, another car has come in. They also came to visit us. Thinking of this, Shi Kaijing felt a pang of heartache. Shi Kaijing even began to doubt whether he was her biological son. You just left half an hour ago. Shi Kaijing asked the foreman for leave, promising to be back within half an hour, and hurriedly went downstairs to find Rao Zhuo's car. When he heard that they were going to remove the surveillance camera on the chandelier, his eyes flickered. Apart from their own employees, there was no way to find it, let alone remove it. What is this? Wei Xinran asked, opening it to find an exquisite brooch. Just as she was about to try it out in her mother's room, she heard the doorbell. It's a real shame that this young heartthrob is working as a migrant worker. If he were a star, he would definitely be a huge hit. Seeing Wei Xinran's unfamiliar expression, Shi Kaijing was deeply shocked. Shi Kaijing, Wei Xinran was filled with disbelief. You really are a heartless man. Although Shi Kaijing said this, he still took a few steps back. Rao Zhuo realized that Wei Xinran's gaze was strange. When he noticed her gaze, he was very annoyed and said in a sharp tone, Wei Xinran, what kind of look is that? This villa belongs to us. Why can't I stay here? Wei Xinran had seen the decoration style and liked it very much, so he planned to find an opportunity to ask his older brother for it. Just a small favor, and he gave it to me. Wei Xinran was wearing sportswear, but it couldn't hide her charming face and exquisite figure. Seeing Shi Kaijing's disdainful look, Wei Xinran frowned. Could it be that my older brother has really taken a liking to Wei Xinran? Wei Xinran must be taking advantage of his kindness to repay him. After reading this, Shi Kaijing saw her as a hypocritical woman who coveted wealth and status. Not only was he sour, but Rao Zhuo was also sour. Now that Rao Zhuo's attitude was so tough, wouldn't his brother value Wei Xinran very much? Shushu, do you know whose house Rao Zhuo just went to? Whose house is it? What could possibly make Rao Zhuo go there and make Xiaoxi so angry? Yahanshu was much calmer than Shi Kaijing, and she also understood Rao Zhuo. Suddenly he had a sudden realization and asked, Isn't Wei Xinran very charming with a pair of big, alluring peach blossom eyes? I'm Yahanshu, you can call me Shushu. Even when she was pursuing Zheng Yunhan, she couldn't help but want to get closer to Yahanshu. Wei Xinran hadn't expected that her small act of revenge would cause the other party such a terrible situation. Not a nice word, the worse the better, so I can get out of this misery as soon as possible. Shi Kaylin didn't believe she had such a vivid imagination about Shi Kaylin. After a long time, the call still hadn't been answered. So Wei Xin said, Next time. After whispering this, he smiled and said to Wei Xinran, Sister Wei, it's my brother's phone call. You mean he was implicated because of me? Yahanshu took the phone and heard his cousin Shi En's voice. Since you're so good with words, don't have to paint the walls. Let's exchange phone numbers, so you can contact me anytime if you need anything. Shi Kaijing was surprised to hear from Yahanshu that his brother had pardoned him. In his mind, only a kind and intelligent girl like Yue was worthy of his older brother. Apart from not having enough gasoline, everything else was ready, so she could only buy a lot of gas cards under the pretext of providing employee benefits. After making some inquiries, she discovered that it was actually a business under the Shi family. It would be even better if you could call Mr. Upon hearing the voice of the powerful figure, Wei Xinran raised an eyebrow. Can you finish building it by the end of this month? I'll have someone speed things up in a bit. I had promised to ask you out, but something urgent came up overseas that I need to take care of. Wei Xinran has been very busy these past few days. With the apocalypse drawing ever closer, she could only leave the task of collecting supplies to her mother and stop practicing shooting. Once outside the space, the blisters on her hands had burst, and the pain was so intense she just wanted to call for her mother. There were still so many trees to plant and so many seeds to sow on the mountain. When fertilizing, she used to use a basin, but now she uses a teacup, doing it little by little. If she doesn't finish planting by then and is punished and dies, what will happen to her mother? After sowing the seeds, she began to cover them with soil. I took a shower, changed my clothes, and then started bandaging my hands. I saw that the dining table was already full of food, all of which were her favorite dishes. Xie Wanqing picked up some braised pork and put it in her bowl, saying, "Take it slow, your right hand will be fine soon." Mom's porridge was so delicious today, and I love it when she puts food on my plate, Wei Xinran said with a bright smile. Seeing the ribs fly out, Xie Wanqing said with annoyance, "Look how confused Mom is." Xie Wanqing noticed the spoon wobbling slightly and assumed her daughter was simply not used to her left hand. Even though she trusted her daughter completely, Xie Wanqing sensed something was wrong. Wei Xinran noticed her mother's gaze, quickly put her hand on the table, and said with a smile, "Mom, I'm fine, my hand just slipped." How could she have been so foolish? Xie Wanqing tidied up the spoons and ribs on the table and said, "Ranran, wait here. Mom will get you another spoon." Wei Xinran tried to pull it back, but it was too late. If this unbandaged hand is this badly injured, then is the right hand even worse? Xie Wanqing felt her heart ache even more. I can't get into that space myself. Seeing her mother crying so sadly, she was deeply moved. I say, "Seeds, scatter them here, and the seeds will automatically scatter here." As she spoke, Wei Xinran suddenly stopped, feeling as if something was blossoming in her mind, but she couldn't quite grasp it. Xie Wanqing wanted to follow, but then she remembered the light in her daughter's eyes. Wei Xinran entered the space, eager to verify her idea. Concentrating, he said, "Dig a hole." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a hole the size of a fist appear on the ground. Nirvana paused for 2 seconds, then mechanically replied, "Since the host didn't ask, I naturally don't need to answer." "Nirvana, you don't like me?" Wei Xinran asked. Wei Xinran was met with a long silence. Could it be because she didn't make a commitment to it earlier? It really was Nirvana who brought her back. So what exactly was the price that made Nirvana hate her so much? Nirvana only needed to complete Wei Xinran's task to upgrade and gain a physical form. After a moment of silence, he felt that it wasn't really Wei Xinran's fault. Wei Xinran knew that she and Nirvana were now one, and even if Nirvana were struck by lightning, it would not let her die. "Come on!" With that, she stood there and closed her eyes. Hearing that Nirvana forgave her so easily, Wei Xinran smiled and said, "Nirvana, you're so kind." Seeing Wei Xinran's good attitude, Nirvana felt even more annoyed and resentful. When she came downstairs, I happily went to greet her and said, "Ranran, come here quickly. Let Mom put medicine and bandage on you. Thanks to you, I have just found a way to plant trees and farm." Xie Wanqing saw that her daughter's face was full of happiness, which did not seem to be fake. "When I was little, my mom was always busy, so the maids fed me." "Okay, from now on, Mom will feed you," Xie Wanqing said affectionately. The next day, Xie Wanqing fed Wei, tidied up the room, and then went to practice shooting. Nirvana took the initiative to tell her that although the mountain looked barren, it actually did not need fertilizer or soil. Wei Xinran had no choice but to leave the space and take a nap. To her surprise, it was Shi Kalin. Gu Jihong was a bookworm who never understood romance. Wei Xinran took them, sniffed them, and said with a smile, "Thank you, come in." Shi Kalin took it from her, put the flowers in the vase, and asked, "What's wrong with your hand?" Ye Hanshu hadn't gone out during this time and had stayed in her room every day. So how could she have gotten injured? "Sit down and have some fruit. I'll go change my clothes." She was still wearing her pajamas. Wei Xin slept for so long, no wonder she was hungry. "I can manage on my own." She couldn't stand being fed by the big shot. It has to be said that Shi Kalin truly lives up to his reputation as a big shot. If she glanced at something, Shi Kalin would buy it for her without hesitation. "You can wander around freely. Don't worry about them. Yes, you have to do what you like. This is what they call a straight man." Shi Kalin pointed to these and asked, "Is that enough?" Nirvana suddenly called her name, and Wei Xinran hurriedly asked, using her consciousness, "What's wrong, Nirvana?" "No, this plane has no spiritual energy, let alone cultivation techniques, so there's no way to absorb the energy inside." Wei Xinran indicated that she understood, and just as she came to her senses, she heard Shi Kalin ask, "What's wrong?" Wei Xinran felt a pair of venomous eyes, and when she turned around, she saw Wang Xiaowen standing behind her. "It must be that shameless idiot who seduced my cousin. Does Wang Xiaowen really think that a look can kill?" When Wei Xinran heard that she was actually using herself to attract Shi Kalin's attention, she smiled and turned around to ask, "Are we classmates? We made an appointment to go shopping together today." Before the two had even left the jewelry store, they ran into Wei Yuqiong and her friend walking towards them. In the future, Wei Yuqiong will only have a higher status than Wei Xinran in City A. Wei Yuqiong quickly stepped aside, and Shi Kalin left with Wei Xinran. "Do you know who that man next to her is?" Lu Shumei lived a fairly leisurely life, and she felt even better when Lu Shumei and Wei Yuehua didn't call her. Wei Xinran's been calling her dozens of times a day for some reason. So Wei Xinran just blocked him. Seeing the fish in the aquarium, he frowned and asked, Nirvana, will springs appear in this space in the future? Nirvana, is it alright if I put these large basins and fish together in my space? Otherwise, given Nirvana's usual hostile attitude towards her, he wouldn't have given her any advice and would have rejected her ideas. Wei Xinran came here mainly to familiarize herself with the surrounding environment and avoid these areas. Wei Xinran found a place to park the car and then asked Nirvana to show her around. Wei Xinran bought a cat and a lot of cat food. After all, there is no spiritual energy here at all. In the past few days, cars have been coming and going at Guitianju, which can be considered as a sign of life. The mother and daughter went to the airport to pick him up. In her past life, Wei Xinran had been very resistant to Wei Haoze. Seeing some bold girls blocking his way and asking to befriend him, Wei Xinran raised an eyebrow and walked over. Seeing Wei Xinran's outstanding appearance and their close relationship, the beautiful woman could only reluctantly leave. Wei Haoze, I helped you get rid of your suitors, you should thank me. Wei Xinran nodded and walked towards Xie Wanqing with Wei Haoze in her arms. Mom said she's treating us to a big meal, Wei Xinran said with a smile. Wei Xinran thought she had seen him, was coming to pick him up. But instead, she threw herself into a man's arms and kissed him. Shi Kailin remained silent, his face cold as he walked out. Wei Xinran already knew this from Xie Wanqing. Wei Xinran laughed and said, then I'll be the butcher for a while. Otherwise, with so many animals in the space, who will kill them? Wei Xinran took the opportunity to have Wei Haoze anonymously post a message about the apocalypse on April 4th. You have a good relationship with Uncle, so you advised him to stock up on more supplies during this period. With the Shi family's influence in D-City, they could prepare a lot of supplies in a short time. After the apocalypse, this made her even more grateful to Wei Xinran. Back home, she entered her spatial dimension and planted all the saplings. Wei Xinran was delighted to hear this. The host can also drink it himself. Wei Xinran had made up her mind. Host, your current level is not high enough to allow a third person to enter the space. Normally, she doesn't experience menstrual cramps, but that time the pain was excruciating, and she felt something flowing from her body. Damn it, in my past life I killed my mother and almost got her eaten by zombies. 2 red lines appeared, so she was indeed pregnant. When they saw that Ranran looked unwell, they came downstairs and asked, Ranran, what's wrong? What would happen to a pregnant woman and her child if she hadn't secured a safe place and made preparations beforehand? Wei Hao's clasped his hands together tightly and asked, Ranran, what are you thinking? Even if she has supplies in a safe environment now, it's only temporary. Moreover, since Nirvana has already approved his stay in the space, he has an extra layer of security. After hearing her words, she said, Ranran, don't worry. Mom will protect you and your child with all her might. Ranran, you can't drink alcohol right now. Mom, brother, this spiritual spring water can strengthen our bodies and make us more adaptable to the apocalypse. Wei Hao's didn't see Xie Wanqing and Wei Hao's exchange a glance, and then she clutched her stomach and went back to her room. Host, don't worry, this is to clear the impurities from your body. After changing her clothes and leaving the room, Wei Xinran soon saw Wei Haoze come out dressed. Wei Haoze realized that after Ranran changed, she liked to tease him. I'm almost 50 years old and my face already has quite a few wrinkles, but now my skin is smooth and elastic. Time is short, so I think we should split up and buy them. Wei Haoze nodded, and after hanging up the phone, his face was somewhat gloomy. Wei Haoze ended the call in no time and said with a smile, they said they would try to arrive at the port in the morning. The 3 of them had just stood up when they heard the doorbell ringing. Before Raojuo could speak, an elegant and noble lady beside her, with tears in her eyes, grasped her hand and said, you must be Ranran. Wei Xinran looked at this person and then at that person, all of whom were looking at her with eagerness and hope. Young Master Shi was in a meeting yesterday when he suddenly collapsed. Young Master Shi said, you can save him, and asked us to bring him here, Raojuo said, frowning. Your blood can suppress the demonic energy within him, allowing him to awaken sooner. I don't want to do something so thankless. Wei Xinran refused directly. There must be a reason why he said that. Wei Xinran, are you going to stand by and watch her die? Shi Kaijing asked, his eyes red. Wei Xinran wouldn't say such things for no reason. Yunqian knew her son very well and pleaded with Wei Xinran, holding her hand. Wei Xinran paused for a moment, then asked in her mind, what temporary mission? If he wakes up within 3 months, you will be rewarded with 5 silver coins and 2 points. Wei Xinran actually gave such a huge reward. Wei Xinran nodded and led the way. Host, even though you used the spiritual spring, the amount was small, so the impurities in your blood were not cleared. Nirvana, my gold coins are your points, right? Tiger Girl, who was nearby, hurriedly ran over and licked the blood off the ground. It works so well, Nirvana. Is it expensive? It's amazing. There's not a single scar and it doesn't hurt anymore. Thank you so much, Nirvana. Such a precious opportunity was actually given to her. Nirvana was too kind to her. When Wei Xinran opened it, she found 5 or 6 crystal-clear diamonds inside. After hanging up the phone, Wei Haozi said Ranran, arrive at the port in an hour. Xie Wanqing could only nod, be careful. Xiao Jing's uncle was in charge of customs, so it would be most convenient for him to come here. When Ching heard that it was a good thing, he chuckled and introduced her. Ranran, this is my cousin, Yan Penghai. Ji Tinkan disapproved of many of the actions of the base's leader. Ji Tinkan, who was a treacherous villain. Chung said with a smile, come on, Ranran. I'll show you and Brother Z around the customs area. The other party sounded very anxious, but there was nothing they could do. They were swimming to the surface and even attacking the ship in a very agitated manner. Wei Xinran thought this was a good excuse, so she said, okay. Chung looked at Wei Xinran for a long time and saw that she didn't seem to be lying. Now they no longer hoped the cargo ship would arrive before 2 p.m. They just hoped it would arrive before the apocalypse. Seeing his boredom, Wei Xinran said, I've never driven a police car before. Coming here to collect supplies was tantamount to suicide. The colorful clouds filled the world and people would faint for more than an hour. In her previous life, she fainted at home and woke up after dark, not knowing what would happen next. These days, his sister only has that expression when she sees supplies. Let's go to the control room and see where it is. Wei Haozi had already called ahead, so when they arrived, the ship was moving at a slower pace. Wei Xinran's meaning was clear. He hoped to get the 500,000 reward. Wei Haozi understood his sister's meaning and led the captain outside. The pain made her release her grip immediately, but the turtle held on tightly, clinging to her hand and refusing to let go. Once on the cruise ship, Wei Xinran said, Acheng, let's hurry back. I would have gotten you a few boxes. Acheng said with a hint of disappointment. Cousin, it wasn't Ranran who asked me to go. If Captain Yan is worried, we can go to the safety supervision department, Wei Xinran said with a smile. We got into the police car and quickly arrived at the control center. Yan Penghai knew his cousin was proud and would be very angry, so he nodded and said, Acheng, your cousin will treat you to dinner later. Wei Xinran and her brother exchanged a glance and said, Acheng, let's go. I have something to tell you. Wei Xinran knew that Acheng hadn't turned into a zombie, but he also didn't have any superpowers. Ranran, is there something else you need from him? Then he called Ajing's parents and made an excuse to have Aunt Xiao go to Ajing's room. Yan Penghai, not understanding what they were up to, got into the car. Ranran, you asked me and Ying Ying to buy more things the other day. The dream was so vivid that it made me feel like I was really in the end times. It would be a real shame not to take a picture, Wei Xinran said, and actually took out her phone to take pictures. I need to notify the government and everyone else that the apocalypse is coming. Yan Penghai saw Wei Xinran open the car door and ran out while taking out his phone to make a call. Sister Wei, is there something you need me for? Brother, if you turn into a zombie, I will kill you without mercy. Holding her hand, he said firmly. If I don't turn into a zombie, I will protect you with my life. Wei Haozi looked at Wei Xinran's belly and sincerely hoped it was a girl, not his nephew who made him feel sorry for her. Wei Haozi wanted to answer his sister, and even wanted to check on her condition. But the next second, he also fainted. Ranran, your brother seems to have a fever. It seems that the older brother is awakening a superpower. It's okay, my brother is awakening his superpowers, she said, squeezing his hand tightly. Ranran, neither of us has a fever. Does that mean neither of us has superpowers? Acheng said with slight disappointment. Host, the rewards for this mission are also very generous. Wei Xinran had to protect and save people at the same time, which was unimaginable for a pregnant woman like her. Wei Xinran remembered that the service center had food and drinks, and as long as she took proper precautions, it should be the safest place. It's best not to, as it will affect the strength of his awakened superpower. It looked bright now, but it would be dark around 7 o'clock. Okay. Now Acheng was completely lost and felt that listening to Ranran must be the right thing to do. Wei Xinran took 2 guns from her spatial storage, got out of the car and made sure to lock the doors. Wei Xinran's movements looked stiff, but he was not slow. After thinking for a moment, she put the pistol in her spatial storage and waited for Yan Penghai to wake up so he could protect her. The sight of them, disgusting and frightening him, made his face turn pale. It was Acheng's voice that attracted the zombies. His shouting only attracted more zombies. Acheng hurriedly covered his mouth, but shook his cousin even more violently, hoping he would wake up quickly. How could he hurt someone in broad daylight? Yan Penghai instantly snapped awake, stood up and ran toward the control center. Many people had woken up, as had many zombies, and they were biting their companions. Someone saw Yan Penghai and shouted, Captain Yan, help! Crystal cores can not only enhance human abilities, but also the abilities of zombies, zombie animals, and zombie plants. Smash their hearts and heads, kill them, or we will all die. The Coast Guards were all carrying stun guns, so when Yan Penghai said that, Everyone began to resist. Seeing how brave Wei Xinran was, Cheng's hand holding the gun trembled. Wei Xinran killed another zombie and glared at him fiercely. Cheng forgot that he was older than Wei Xinran. Seeing that the zombie had indeed fallen to the ground, he felt more confident and said, Ranran, I'm not afraid anymore. Wei Xinran couldn't completely rely on Cheng's help. Her main priority now was to resolve the matter quickly. From the control center's perspective, the survival rate was quite high. So let's go to the weapons center first. Distribute all the weapons inside, and then rescue the people. Ding Yang was walking and making phone calls at the same time. Unfortunately, very few of them are connected. Yan Penghai handed Wei Xinran a machine gun and asked, Do you know how to use it? A machine gun fires several bullets at a time, and here, there were only 2 machine guns, both fully loaded, but with no bullets left. The other team, led by, will support the control center, service center, and the entire container area. Ding Yang glanced at Yan Penghai, nodded, and called for 20 men to step forward. Remember, zombies are like humans, their hearts and heads are their fatal organs. With that, he saluted them. Wei Xinran nodded, walked to the opposite side of him, and looked at him with a smile. I hope you can get the people at the dock to go to the service center as soon as possible. Ding Yang narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a smile, I will give serious consideration to the beautiful comrade's opinion. People who have been bitten or scratched by zombies have a 95% chance of turning into zombies within 24 hours. Wei Xinran knew Yan Penghai was trying to protect her, but she really didn't need to. They were unlucky. There wasn't a single living person among them. Only zombies who were killed on sight. After dark, the zombies will be more destructive. As Yan Penghai left, he gave instructions to everyone via walkie-talkie. Of the more than 30 people, only 7 were still alive, and a rescue operation was launched immediately. The Coast Guard didn't heed the host's warning. They just drove around the dock, gave a brief announcement, and then left. If we save one, there will be one more person. Wei Xinran rambled on, and surprisingly, Cheng nodded and said, Ranran, you're so kind. Cheng, I remember there was an area where empty containers were being loaded, right? Ranran, it seems there are living people here. Cheng could only give her the pistol and some bullets. Seeing that the crane driver was all right, Wei Xinran told him her plan. Wei Xinran gave 1 pair to Sheng, then put them on her brother and took 1 pair for herself. There are coast guards and food. There we can spend the night in peace. Some people wanted to hitch a ride, but when they saw the zombies behind the car, they quickly left. Wei Xinran immediately realized that they were all wearing headphones, and there was such a loud noise overhead, so Ranran couldn't hear him at all. What if someone got in the car and was unhappy that she had led the zombies away and forced her to send him away? If it weren't for the mission, she wouldn't have bothered saving these people. Wei Xinran would never put herself in unknown danger for the sake of strangers. Then they drove the car far away and quietly watched as the zombies followed the sound and walked into the container one by one. Especially zombies without crystal cores, they would die even faster. There are 8 people on cargo ship 97,310, but there are 79 zombies on board. Ranran, where are you going? Cheng ran out of the car and saw Wei Xinran leave without looking back. With so many zombies, using machine guns is the easiest way. Wei Xinran led them away while firing her gun. Wei Xinran then rode her motorcycle towards another boat. Wei Xinran fired another shot at the lock itself. The close-range impact of the bullet made her hand numb, but thankfully the lock opened. Wei Xinran frowned, helped the woman up, and walked towards the deck. Soon the entire dock was engulfed in flames, and the waves became much smaller because of the fire. Help me get her into the car. Wei Xinran pushed the woman into Cheng's arms and said breathlessly. Wei Xinran got into the car and saw Cheng still standing there in a daze. I don't know if we can make it through the night. What should we do then? Cheng asked worriedly. Not far from the port, there is a shallow sea amusement park. In any case, tonight is definitely not going to be peaceful. Some were constantly making phone calls, anxious and helpless, while others were crying into their phones. There was water and bread there, which Yan Penghai had apparently prepared in advance. When Cheng saw Wei Xinran looking over, he handed her the key and said, Ranran, she's too beautiful and unconscious. Yan Penghai frowned, then said, I understand. The phone rang once and was then answered. Our phones were on silent, so no one noticed. Oh, and young Master Shi is fine too. After hanging up the phone, Wei Xinran saw Cheng holding his phone, also dialing numbers repeatedly, but still no one answered. Upon hearing this, Wei Xinran sensed something was wrong. I tried calling you but couldn't get through, so I went downstairs to tell Auntie to cook. Luckily you had told me something beforehand, and when I saw something was wrong, I stood on the stairs in fear. Auntie, I know you and my uncle are very close, but now he has turned into a monster, and you must kill him. Do you think Uncle's soul will be at peace? Wei Xinran interrupted her directly, advising Auntie, you still have a Jing. Auntie, My brother is also awakening his powers while running a fever. Sure enough, a mother's love is strong. Did they turn into zombies? Or are they both awakening superpowers? I knew you were the best and kindest girl in the world. He was a white man in his 40s. Upon seeing Wei Xinran and her brother, the captain said, I'm looking for them. The captain caught it, looked at Wei House, and asked, what happened to him? You can go by yourself, Wei Xinran said, raising an eyebrow. Captain Yan is doing this for everyone's sake. No, he always felt that this woman was a mystery. 80%, the captain said through gritted teeth. To tell you the truth, something came out of the sea, which is why I burned the ship over there. The phone rang only twice before a Cheng rushed in and asked, Ran, what's up? The scooter was quiet and had dim lights, making it perfect. It took her 20 minutes to ride there. Whether to call her lucky or unlucky, when Wei Xinran arrived, the ship was already burning within 2 meters of her. Host, the goods are in the warehouse next to the previous ones. You've seen too many pictures on the computer. There are piles of things on many hillsides. It said, seriously, Host, it is not allowed to pile up supplies in places where plants are grown. Wei Xinran took out a machine gun with a silencer and started firing as she walked. Once we clear out the zombies here, we can get the goods. Wei Xinran had heard from Cheng that some animals were transported by sea, but such cases were extremely rare. Fortunately, the door opened as soon as I knocked. The quickest way is to use a grenade. Then she heard a painful roar and quickly left the room, taking out a container from her spatial storage and blocking the door. Host, hurry. The fire is about to reach the fuel tank. I'm afraid we're really not meant to be, Wei Xinran said apologetically to Nirvana, looking at the big mouth and fangs in front of her. I don't know if the main system will erase her. Wei Xinran took out a small fire extinguisher from her spatial storage and quickly put out the fire. If it was useful, they would collect it. Upon hearing this, Wei Xinran said regretfully, all right. Wei Xinran returned to her office and had just opened a bottle of water to drink when she heard someone knocking on the door. Even if the zombies came, they would definitely be drawn by the sound and attracted to the dock. Captain Yan, I heard that quite a few zombies have arrived. Brother Ding led us to rescue people. The zombies didn't come with the crowd. They came with the convoy. Yan Penghai looked at the many women and children who had come in and said, all right. Ding Yang clenched his fist and said, of course, this is within my duties, so there's no need for this comrade to trouble himself. Yan Penghai then followed Yan Penghai out. Nobody knows how many zombies are behind us. Yan Penghai thought for a moment, then looked at Ding Yang, who nodded. When they opened it, Ding Yang was shocked to find that he was among them. Ding Yang and 3 others drove around luring the zombies away, while the rest used silenced guns to shoot down any stray zombies. Zombies are sensitive to sound, and they also have the habit of traveling in groups. Nirvana, where are all the people who were bitten here before? Some had their legs gnawed off, some had lost their arms, some had bite marks on their faces, and some had large holes in their chests. I'll get him out of here, Wei Xinran said, pointing to a man on the ground whose neck had been bitten. As soon as I got in the car, Yan Penghai walked over and asked, where are you going? After getting into the car, he asked, how do you plan to lure the zombies away? Yan Penghai saw Wei Xinran get out of the car, take a trash bag from the trunk and ask, what's this? Just as he said, it was very close to the exit of the amusement park. Under the streetlight, Yan Penghai realized that the garbage bag contained a dead body. Yan Penghai nodded and asked, where do you plan to take the zombies? Wei Xinran couldn't help but feel a little fortunate that Wei Xinran had thought of luring the zombies away. From afar, Wei Xinran spotted the scrap metal recycling station and couldn't help but think how great her sharp eyesight was. This is a spare car, and she won't easily take it out, so that people will know she has a spatial storage space. Seeing that the zombie horde was getting closer and closer, he said. Wei Xinran turned her head and looked at the unconscious person. It's just that the scar on his face is too horrifying. This scar is quite old. It should have been there since childhood. So even though many men saw her figure, they dared not make a move because of her ugly face and Guji Hong's care. No one took a liking to her anymore. Luojin was very surprised and hoped that Luojin could save her, but there were too many zombies. Having learned from their first experience, they led several more waves of zombies to the west and north districts. Wei Xinran could hear a Cheng's sobbing voice. Ding Yang said, my cousin took you away and doesn't care whether we live or die. Wei Xinran didn't have time to think about anything else and rushed to the office, where she saw several coast guards kicking the door. Just as Wei Xinran was about to fire, Ding Yang's voice came from behind her. Team leader Ding is really enthusiastic, Wei Xinran said sarcastically. Join what? Wei Xinran asked, raising her eyebrows. Wei Xinran glanced at Yan Penghai and asked, what about Captain Yan? Yan Penghai glanced at all the officers and then asked, where's Xiao Liang? No, Chief Ding's orders and accidentally fell into a horde of zombies, where he was devoured by them. When he left, Xiao Liang was not injured yet. For example, the establishment of the base was Ding Yang's responsibility as the base chief. Ding Yang wasn't surprised. In fact, she thought Ding Yang was quite a character. Didn't we agree that it would be fine once it was delivered to the service center? Judging from its dark appearance, it should have turned into a zombie shrimp, not a mutated shrimp. How can a shrimp leave the seawater? Nirvana, can you help me find the zombie shrimp's weakness? Its claws are also very powerful, capable of easily cutting open iron gates. How long can the control room hold it? Then Ding Yang said, Miss Wei, from now on, everyone must get my permission before eating. Based on that courage alone, Wei Xinran decided to give him the chance. Only Yan Penghai frowned, pulled Wei Xinran behind him, and said, Ding Yang, that's enough. Didn't you hear what Miss Wei said? Yan Penghai gave a signal to the officers behind him, and 2 officers immediately came out, took out handcuffs, and locked Yan Penghai up. Yan Penghai kicked her hard and struggled to say, Ding Yang, Wei Xinran is young Master Jing's woman. This is the apocalypse, a world of zombies. Curse and then continue. Wei Xinran said with a smile, pointing a pistol at Ding Yang's heart. Pointing at his heart, she coldly commanded, I'll slap your mouth and tell you that everything you said was bullshit. Wei Xinran asked in a deep voice, Miss Wei, are you not worried about Captain Yan's life or death? Ding Yang had no choice but to continue. The police officer glanced at Ding Yang, and seeing that he agreed, he had no choice but to open it. When he reached the office, Wei Xinran had Yan Penghai knock on the door and call out, Chung, open the door. Yan Penghai nodded, opened the window, and left. Chung, you hold the doll, let's go. After saying that, Wei Xinran went to help her brother. Yan Penghai nodded, drove to the dock, and put Wei Hao's and the other 2 into Wei Xinran's car. Wei Xinran got into the car and said, to the control center, this Ding Yang, does he have a death wish? That's really interesting. After Wei Xinran finished speaking to Nirvana, she said to Yan Penghai, stay in the car and don't come out. Captain Charlie, tell me, what goods did Miss Wei actually ask you to carry? Ding Yang said, handing the megaphone to Captain Charlie. Wei Xinran raised an eyebrow and laughed. Chief Ding, your IQ isn't up to par. Besides having a father who is the director of the police headquarters, he also has a grandfather from a military and political family. Seeing Ding Yang looking over, he shouted, you must have moved the weapons. It must be difficult to deal with. Could it be that Wei Xinran intended to kill Ding Yang and the others? Wei Xinran decided to kidnap Wei Xinran first, and then slowly interrogate her about the whereabouts of the weapons. The 2 men nodded, found a broom from somewhere, and walked over. Everyone looked at the guard and saw a meter-long black lobster jump onto his arm, its head plunging deep into his wound. The guard, seeing the gun pointed at him, was so terrified he lost control of his bladder. The black shrimp was disturbed from eating and was very unhappy. In an instant, the guard's arm was broken. Ding Yang saw the black shrimp not far away and became even more frightened. When Ding Yang saw the zombie shrimp rushing towards him, he quickly closed the car window. By this time, all the vehicles had started and were heading towards the service center. The zombie shrimp was jumping back and forth on the roof of the car. Upon smelling blood, it lowered its head and used its other large pincer to clamp onto Wei Xinran's arm. The zombie shrimp was instantly electrocuted and slid off the roof of the car. Yan Penghai nodded, took out a lighter, and Wei Xinran threw the toilet paper from the car onto the zombie shrimp. Congratulations, host. You have completed the mission. Mental strength is the host's sensitivity to the surrounding environment and the ability to control it. Wei Xinran nodded and said, add it to mental power. She had high hopes for psychic abilities. Host, have you decided who to contract with? The car stopped quickly, and Yan Penghai frowned and said, what will happen if you get caught by that shrimp? When Chung saw Wei Xinran return, he was very happy and ran over to ask, Ran, cousin, you're finally back! Wei Xinran grabbed 2 bottles of water, gave one to Yan Penghai, and opened the other for herself. Wei Xinran, what do you mean by this? Chung asked unhappily. Chung was shocked and then noticed a long wound on Wei Xinran's arm. Wei Xinran had read a lot of articles about the apocalypse. Wei Xinran smiled and said, I don't know, but I might faint at any moment, so I need to get home as soon as possible. Coincidentally, at the highway entrance, all 4 entrances were congested with vehicles and a considerable number of zombies. Fortunately, although there were already quite a few zombies on the road was clear. They have guns and can kill monsters. In this way, by inviting friends and acquaintances along the way, Wei Xinran was eventually followed by more than a dozen cars. Just as Yan Penghai got out of the car, Wei Xinran said, Chung, you get out too. Chung, you deal with the zombies outside. Leave the ones in the car to me. Yan Penghai said with a smile. Wei Xinran must have embezzled our hard-earned money. What surprised them most was her marksmanship. She fired at the zombies as she walked, and every shot hit its mark. Wei Xinran got into the car and saw Yan Penghai still killing zombies. Wei Xinran nodded, instantly gaining a new understanding of Wei Xinran. Chung nodded and hurriedly got back into the car. Wei Xinran wouldn't allow herself to be absent from her brother's side for any reason when he needed her most. It's all right. After saying that, seeing Yan Pinghai get into the car, she drove off before he could even sit down properly. In just 10 seconds, it was brought back under control. It's okay. Although it was okay, the car sped up even more. Even the two slow-witted men could tell that something was wrong with Wei Xinran. Plus, she was fast, so she got home in 20 minutes. Wei Xinran felt she didn't even have the strength to speak. When he wakes up, tell him that he and Ah-Ching will go find their parents, Wei Xinran said with her last bit of willpower. Moreover, you currently have a lot of lightning factors stored in your blood, which is not conducive to the awakening of your superpowers. After placing Wei Xinran next to Shi Kailan, she weakly said, "Stand guard." As she spoke, she glanced at them. "I hope my cousin and sister Wei will be able to get along well and get through this safely." Wei Xinran felt alternating sensations of cold and heat, as if ice and fire were constantly washing over her body, relentlessly vying for and attacking her. It also felt like water was choking her, suppressing her voice. "Mom, the hospital is in a mess right now. If she accidentally fell in, she would be reduced to ashes. Either way, she was going to die." "I'm awake," she said, raising her hand to wipe away the tears on her mother's face. But she felt no strength at all. Thinking that her daughter had been unconscious for 2 days and 2 nights, she said, "Ranran, are you hungry?" After hearing her mother say that, Wei Xinran also felt a little hungry, so she nodded and said, "Okay, thank you, Mom." No, the host has awakened not only water-based abilities, but also fire-based abilities. Plus, you awaken both water and fire abilities at the same time, which is why you are so exhausted. The host's energy has awakened, so the system also receives some energy. Each time the host's abilities are upgraded, the plant growth rate increases by 1%. Hao's and Xiao Si went with Chung and Captain Yan to rescue their family. Wei Xinran had been unconscious for so long. Wei Xinran sat up, leaned against the headboard, and asked, "Young Master Yi, tell me about the situation outside." The situation had been largely brought under control, but his deputies suddenly defected, and the two sides were locked in a stalemate over weapons. "Not only do we have weapons, but we also have a lot of supplies." Knowing Wei Xinran's thoughts, Nirvana couldn't help but roll its eyes. Of course, only if it had the means. Wei Xinran ignored Nirvana's warning. "Young Master Shi is a doctor, right? Gujihong is fine, but his mother turned into a zombie, and he's feeling down right now," Yahanshu said as she walked out. Gujihong even had stubble on his beard. "Are you resenting young Master Yi?" Wei Xinran asked, raising her eyebrows. Auntie used to be a good teacher. She certainly didn't want to become a zombie, and she certainly didn't want to bite Uncle. "Okay, hurry up and wash up. You're filthy. The stench is filling my room." Gunan, who had come along, saw his son running over in a panic. "Ah, Hong, what's wrong?" After thinking for a moment, he walked up to the second floor. "I was thinking that if there wasn't an apocalypse, we could be neighbors. If there was, that would be even better, as I could protect you," Wei Xinran said. "We don't want to think about what happened to your aunt." "Okay, then I won't stand on ceremony with you, Uncle," Wei Xinran said with a smile. "If anything happens, have Shushu come and tell us. Can you think of a way to give me strength as soon as possible?" Neither of these brothers are good people. Shi Kaibo frowned when he heard about the looting of supplies. "Can I take a look?" Shi Kaibo asked excitedly. Shi Kaibo glanced at Yahanshu and said, "You big mouth." Wei Xinran closed his eyes and slowly released his abilities. Shi Kaibo only heard about light-based superpowers later, and this was the first time she had ever seen such a magical superpower. Wei Xinran smiled brightly. "Baby, you don't need to prescribe medicine for me." Wei Xinran inexplicably felt like he was being teased by his future sister-in-law. "First, tell me why your fire is in your palm instead of your whole body." Sure enough, his whole body was no longer radiating light. Only his hands were glowing. Shi Kaibo was shocked to see his future sister-in-law grab his hand. Wei Xinran's favorite person right now is her brother. It was all because of him that he had misunderstood. To prevent Wei Xinran from touching it, he thought it would be safer to place it on her shoulder. Wei Xinran said, "All right, you should rest now." Wei Xinran's arm was smooth and delicate, and had recovered completely. If he had known there were internal injuries, he would have treated them together next time. Wei Xin sat up abruptly, exclaiming in surprise, "How could this be? Nirvana, are you worried about punishment from the main system?" It was genuinely afraid of being discovered and punished by the main system, since it didn't have many points left to withstand the system's penalties. "Are you sure you want to do something so thankless?" Wei Xinran was right. If the main system disagreed, it would have noticed long ago and wouldn't have waited so long without saying a word. "I only saw a white shadow just now. We'll talk about it when we form a contract with Mother." Then she asked, "Nirvana, why do people also need to form contracts?" Human contracts are the key to entering the system, and at the same time, they can prevent them from having ulterior motives and exposing the system. "Ranran, I made bird's nest porridge and red date millet porridge." sit down, mommy will feed you. Ran didn't even have the strength to lift her arm just now. A moment later, Shuang came out and saw Gujihong reading a book. I think I must have awakened a tree-like ability. Gujihong scratched his head and smiled sheepishly. Every time I try, I get stuck, so I still don't really know how to use it. Wei Xinran was very excited, finally no longer having to entangle his body. All he could do was cry a help from downstairs. Dad! Dad! Gunan was already used to his son tying him up, but this time was better. He wasn't completely wrapped up. Uncle, don't go, Wei Xinran said, raising her head. If you can't untangle them and control your superpowers, how will you protect Uncle? Do you think I can avoid being bullied? Wei Xinran said slowly, taking a bite of bamboo shoot. In the past 2 days, besides practicing his superpowers, he had also read a lot about the apocalypse. With this in mind, he concentrated and began to slowly control the vine. Wei Xinran finished the last mouthful of porridge, nodded, and said, not bad. Only Ranran could help him understand things quickly. I'll go downstairs to check on Ahong. Shnan saw her nod and went downstairs. Wei Xinran stood up, locked her room, sat back, and said, Mom, I've completed another mission. Wei Xinran smiled and nodded, took out a knife and made a cut on her fingertip, then pressed on Xie Wanqing's Yintang acupoint. After a while, Tiger Girl, who had been raising its head, lay prostrate on her body in submission. In addition to her inherent speed and olfactory mutation, Tiger Girl also had a huge space. Perhaps the divine beast bloodline in this white cat has awakened this function, Nirvana explained. The space is huge, it's over 1,000 square meters. Xie Wanqing pulled her daughter and said, Ranran, thank you for your hard work. It was the same size as her original room, about 20 square meters, with a bathroom but no bed or other items. Mom is so good, Wei Xinran said with a smile, hugging her mother. When the two went downstairs, they were surprised to find Ye Hanshu and Rao Zhuo. Their villas weren't far apart, but the Shi family's villa was large, so it still took 6 minutes to drive there. Ni Yunqian led Wei Xinran into the room. Without a doubt, they must be Shi Kailan's grandfather and father. Shi Yaoling glanced at Rao Zhu, who said, Miss Wei, it's like this. Wei Xinran only realized now that this gate was so powerful, and even had cannonballs. The people in the room looked at each other, and Ye Hanshu said, But, you need my cousin's fingerprint to enter the security system control room. If someone supports the user, the system will detect it, and all the programs will be locked down or even self-destructed. Young Master Shi once used your fingerprints. Shi Kailan cursed Shi Kailan in her mind, but said calmly, all right, it's open now. The control room has a huge monitor that not only shows the entire Guitianju residence, but also clearly displays the area a kilometer away from Guitianju. No wonder the Shi family was anxious. She was also terrified when she saw this situation. Rao Zhu nodded, walked over and started operating the computer. The attack mode on the west gate has been deactivated, but is still inaccessible. After saying that, he smiled at Wei Xinran and walked out. Ni Yunqian smiled and pulled Wei Xinran along, saying as they walked out of the control room, Ranran rarely comes, so let's sit a little longer. Wei Xinran gave a dry laugh. Her grandfather had died long ago. Shi Kaibo's gaze seemed to indicate that they were very familiar with each other, reminding her of her deceased father. If I had known it would be this troublesome, I wouldn't have agreed to Shi Kailan's offer to save myself the trouble. I won't bother you any longer, I'll be leaving now. With that, she stood up and left. Is this a sign of disdain for their family or for his proud grandson? Wei Xinran raised an eyebrow and said, Assistant Rao, I still respect you very much, and I hope you will respect me in the same way. Rao Zhuo remained silent, simply standing respectfully before Wei Xinran. His attitude clear, I will not step aside, okay? Ni Yunqian stood up and said with a smile, You stubborn child, Yue Yuan is right. A loving sigh rang out at this moment. Come here and listen to what Grandpa has to say. Wei Xin sat down again, her back ramrod straight, and said, sitting, Grandpa Shi said unhappily, It's the end of the world, what peaceful days are there? Old Master Shi pursed his lips, looking sternly at Wei Xinran with a face full of displeasure, while Wei Xinran smiled calmly. Let's get down to business first, Shi Yaoqian said with a smile. Wei Xinran finally understood. The Shi family had ambitions and wanted to build a base. This has nothing to do with me, a mere woman. So I'm going home. Grandpa Shi was so angry that his beard stood on end. You look even younger than him. So building the base under your wise leadership will definitely not be a problem. So the task of building the base is entrusted to you. Just as he was about to refuse, Nirvana said, Host, a mission has arrived. Mission 1 is to rescue 100,000 survivors. If anything happened, helping was a favor, not an intention. I won't bother you any longer and will go back now. Ni Yunqian was about to persuade him again when the old man said, All right, don't pressure her so much. Secondary task reward 1.5 silver coins, can contract 1 person, and increase the mountain area by 100 square meters. It never expected that the main system would be so generous, actually rewarding it with a spiritual spring. Host, Although everyone has been unkind to you since you entered the base, that's because you're not strong enough. Host, zombies have no emotions, no cognition. You are the boss of the base. You can even raise your own people and organize your own forces for your future use. Then you can complete the other secondary missions as well, which will greatly increase your gold coins. The main system is as stingy as a miser. It will take forever to get 5,000 gold coins. I'm going to block you out. After Wei Xinran finished speaking, there really was no sound in her mind. Seeing that Rao Zhuo hadn't said a word to persuade her from beginning to end, her goodwill towards him increased many times over. Wei Xinran raised an eyebrow and asked, "Have you awakened your special ability?" Of them, 57 became zombies and 43 awakened superpowers. There were more than 300 renovation workers, plus their families, totaling 844 people. Wei Xinran nodded in agreement. This was the normal situation. There were dozens of missed calls and nearly 100 voice messages. Not long after Wei Xinran arrived home, Wei Hao's came over with a Cheng, Luo Ziju, and Yang Wawa. Cry, brother Cheng, cry it all out. Then live like a man, live a wonderful life, so they can rest in peace when they leave. My mom is cooking, so eat more later. Just as the meal was finished, Wei Haoza returned with Guji Hong's family, Luo Jun, Yang Wawa, and others. I don't have any special abilities myself, but I can project other people's abilities. Wei Hao's raised his hand and a dagger appeared in his hand. Wei Xinran glared at him and Gu Jihong suddenly realized what was going on. So when he heard someone call his name, he thought it was a hallucination. Luo Jun's beautiful face was full of smiles, and her sparkling eyes showed no disdain. Aunt Latina frowned and glanced at Luo Jun. Wei Xinran would definitely get along well with her in the future, and find an opportunity to repay her life-saving grace. I heard the army has supplies and weapons which are exactly what we need. After saying that, he glanced at Aunt Latina. Aunt Latina smiled and said, Ranran, you don't need to be so polite with me. Ranran, don't worry, Uncle will definitely participate and won't hold you back, Gunan said with a smile. I will give each of you a gun. Upon hearing this, Gujahong quickly nodded. Don't worry, Ranran. I will definitely protect you. Yan Penghai had applied for a villa near Gunan's villa. Ji Kalin is still unconscious, so they plan to entrust the base construction to me. As for you and a Cheng, I will provide you with some weapons and some superhumans. I will do my best to bring back as many supplies as possible from the port. Now she wants to take advantage of the fact that Ji Tenkun is still preparing to build the base and snatch the supplies back. Wei Xinran asked with surprise, Host, have you decided to accept the main mission? Nirvana, this task is too general and has no specific requirements, Wei Xinran asked. After the mission was completed, Wei Xinran took Xie Wanqing to the Shi family. How could he be entrusted with such an important task? I have absolutely no relation to young Master Shi. I guess Ranran is shy and embarrassed, so she won't admit it. Grandpa Ji nodded and continued. Little Fourth, your eldest brother is currently unconscious. Your disagreement is invalid, Old Master Shi said firmly. You must listen to your grandfather, his father said. Seeing that the whole family was siding with Wei Xinran, Shi Kaijing couldn't help but ask, Wei Xinran, what kind of superpower have you awakened? I heard that fourth young master has awakened Earth-based abilities. Sister, you're siding with her too, Shi Kaijing said unhappily. Then you can watch and see for yourself, fourth young master. Wei Xinran said with a smile. It only took a little over an hour to get there. These people must not be Commander Ni's men. Before you, there was another group of about 20 people. Shi Kaishan was so angry that she pursed her lips. Can you have your leader come over? The company commander turned his head and saw a beautiful rose. The company commander, perhaps because he felt like he had a gun to his chest, was trembling and hurriedly ordered, quickly, put the gun down. Ranran will get angry in a bit. When he saw the real machine gun on the ground, his eyes lit up instantly. Wei Xinran's had seen him just moments ago. His face had turned pale with fear. When will this idiot ever get any sense other than farming and studying? Seeing Shi Kaijing approach, he said, Fourth young master, this person is yours. Nirvana then said, Host, I didn't expect you to have the potential to be a saint. After Wei Xinran finished speaking, under Shi Kaijing's strange gaze, she turned around and got into the car saying, Brother, let's go. Even if she awakened her supernatural abilities, she would wake up in a day or two. Fine, since you won't hand over your weapons, then we'll wait and see who can outlast whom. The Shi family will definitely send people to support us. Just see, I think Sister Wei is right. With so many of us plus Uncle Ni's men, are we afraid of them? Ji Kaijing got out of the car angrily, walked over and said, Wei Xinran, are you out of your mind? Wei Xinran rolled down the car window, propped her chin on her arm and gave a sarcastic smile. Wei Xinran smiled even more beautifully. So it turns out I misunderstood fourth young master. Wei Xinran's words sounded nice, but Shi Kaijing inexplicably felt that she was calling him a brute and an idiot. Wei Xinran found a good hiding spot and asked, Wei Xinran, what do you think we should do now? Uncle Ni is waiting for us to rescue them. Seeing that Shi Kaijing was very angry, Yahanshu hurriedly advised Xiaoxi, "Don't be silly. Sister Wei has made arrangements. Shu, don't be fooled by her. Your brother would never be interested in her. Shushu keeps saying she has plans, but I haven't seen her do anything yet," Chikashin said. "You're a coward, a show-off, a troublemaker," Shikajing said, unleashing his supernatural power at Wei Xinran. While pulling his sister along, Wei Haoze in the driver's seat prepared to use his superpower to block the soil cone. "How can you abandon your uncle for the sake of beauty? Oh, I forgot to tell you. I've also awakened water-based abilities." Wei Xinran hadn't expected her abilities to be so strong, considering she was much smaller in her previous life. There was a woman in her car who was even prettier than her. "You don't like the Shi family?" Wei Haoze asked with a smile. The Shi siblings came to her door to torment her. "What do you think we should do now, brother?" "That's a good idea, but I prefer to capture the leader first," Wei Xinran said with a bright, calculating smile. "Many people have not yet suffered and have not yet maintained their kindness and integrity." "Perfect. This will allow us to see how highly you are regarded by your uncle." The soldiers looked at each other, and finally one of them said, "You should leave. We can pretend you were never here. Do you know that now is a race against time? We have trucks there. You can ride in our trucks." In his previous life, this man was the second in command of the base. This kind of scum is best dealt with as soon as possible. 3 beautiful women suddenly appeared. One was charming and alluring. One was elegant and noble. And one was exquisite and lovely. Wu Gan glanced at the other party, feeling reluctant, but smiled and said, "Of course, but only after the matter is settled." Wei Xinran's large, alluring peach blossom eyes blinked, and she asked timidly in a low voice, "Political commissar, why do they have so many guns?" Wu Gan enjoyed the compliments from the beautiful woman, and asked as they walked, "What brings you here? You can have anything you want there. How about it?" As they were talking, they had already reached the warehouse entrance. Inside the warehouse, Ni Kaijin looked outside and said, "Dad, it really is my cousin and her brother.